Here, you already know what it is. Today we are going over the Johnathan Majors of it all. Right, everything that has to do with Johnathan Majors' trial. Now that it's over, I feel like I can talk about it. I don't really like to talk about things as they're going, especially when it's like a trial or something like that, because I will want to see the verdict afterward, and what I think the jury got right, what I think they got wrong, especially if I followed the case. So I followed this case very closely. I cared about Johnathan Majors' career because I like his acting in a bunch of movies that I watch. He's a good actor. But after this whole trial, it's been a little sour in my mouth now, and I don't really care about his career as much. But we will talk about why I feel that way. I still feel this trial was a little bit not fully, justified. Just like justice was not served, right? But people that look like me in this country, we can't really expect justice to be served most of the time. I don't expect it. Justice in this country to me is not blind. It's very much with one eye open, and they know, who to side with. Let's put it that way. I feel bad that I'm not going to be able to see more of his acting because, again, it's really good. But at the same time, I'm not a type of person that can look past a person's behavior or who they are after I find out who they are, and then continue to just be okay with watching them on screen, which is another reason why I didn't really enjoy the Flash aspect of the Flash, right? The Ezra Miller aspect of the Flash. But again, in that instance, it's the same as this instance. I feel justice has not even been slightly served, especially in that instance, because that person deserves to be behind bars. But which I don't think the same is in this case. But anyway, we're gonna get into it. So, Johnathan Majors, have an article here that goes through the whole trial. So we'll go through the whole trial. March 25th. I remember it like it was yesterday. I just finished watching Quantumania, I think, and I thought it was all right. It wasn't the best movie, but Johnathan Majors was actually the best part of that movie. And then I saw that he was arrested for domestic violence, and I'm like, what? Domestic abuse? What's going on? Then March 26th, the charges were filed, and then in March 30th, Majors accuses the victim, or technically the victim, Jabari, his ex-girlfriend, of assaulting him, not him assaulting her. So then it got messy. Right? The court issues restraining orders, both for her and for him. So they basically have to stay away from each other, which actually I think benefited both of them, but ultimately Grace Jabari in this case. But I'll explain why. So within this time, Johnathan Majors releases, or Johnathan Majors' lawyer or team or whatever, releases a bunch of stuff to try and make him look innocent, right? Which is a couple texts between each other, and like literally right after the arrest. And a lot of people took it as, oh, this girl's being manipulated, this guy's an abuser or whatever, because it's very like coded in that. And I can see how they see that. I didn't see that at first. I definitely see it now after the other messages that come out during the court trial, but initially I didn't see it that way, but I'll explain how I saw it anyway. But also they released a text message from Jabari to Majors saying that she was in an emotional crisis, and that she recanted all of the stuff. She said that she let's see right here, she was the one who used physical force against him, and she disavowed any allegations that he had done anything to her, and confirmed that Mr. Majors called 911 because of her medical condition, right? So this is allegedly what she had told them, right? So, or messaged them or whatever, right? Because they have screenshots of these messages of her telling, Johnathan Majors this stuff, right? Anyway, we're going to get to that stuff. Now, let me start with who is Grace Jabari. Because everybody pretty much knows who Johnathan Majors is. Very big, very famous guy. But nobody really knows who this Grace Jabari character is. So she is a dancer, from what I could gather. So this is her IMDb page. I like to paint people as positive of a light as I can. So she was a dancer. She was a dancer in Barbie, which is one of the biggest movies of the past year. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Mood, all these movies, right? She was in a Coldplay dance video, I guess, music video. She was in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania as a movement coach, which is basically just probably teaching some of the characters had to dance in like a dance scene of the movie or something like that, or move a certain way in a movie or whatever. Like, this happens all the time. And so this is her. This is the pictures that she put up of herself. So, this is her. It's who she is. There she is, Grace Jabari, right? So, again, I like to present people how they want to be presented. This is the pictures that she put up on IMDb. I assume her team, so this is how she wants to be represented, which is fine. Now, a lot of people are saying, a lot of the same thing that always comes up whenever it's about a domestic dispute or domestic abuse or any kind of abuse. Oh, they did it for money or whatever. I don't think so. This girl doesn't live in this country. Her net worth, or according to the internet, she was worth almost $200,000 as of 2023, and she's worked on those big ass movies as a dancer. I assume they were paying her very well, so she was getting paid very well to do what I assume she loves to do, because she does it in all these other movies. So I don't think she really needed the money in that regard, right? And then obviously Johnathan Majors' net worth is $2 million, so he definitely doesn't need the money, and this pretty much put him in the negative of this, right? So I think this is more along the lines of a toxic, very toxic relationship that just became public, right? And over an altercation. Now, the things that he was charged with, right? So he has charges against Johnathan Majors. He was charged with reckless assault in the third degree, harassment in the second degree, intentional assault in the third degree, and aggravated harassment in the second degree, right? And ultimately, fast forward to the end of the trial, he was only found guilty of 2, which is reckless assault in the third degree and harassment in the second degree, not intentional and not aggravated. So these are misdemeanors. He could do about a year in jail, maybe. He can do, but the judge usually decides. So it could be probation, it could be community service. He could pay a fine. His lawyer is probably gonna chalk him up to something. This is technically his first time offense, and it's again they opted for the less serious charges, the jury. So also, I feel like it's a less serious offense in the eyes of the judge as well. So, now, why am I talking about this today? It's really not to talk about Johnathan Majors. It is, in a way, but it's mostly to talk about, the state of America and just you as the viewer or the subscriber or whatever, the person on the other side of this, the regular Joe Schmo, the regular person. This could happen to you, but not in this way, right? This is a very famous person, very public trial. All of these things that came out of this stuff, if you were, working a regular job, nobody would really care. Not even people at your job would know about, mostly, unless you told people you're going to court over a domestic abuse dispute or whatever. But most of the time, people don't know, and you're just going off scot-free doing your regular life. The only reason that we know about this is because, again, Johnathan Majors is a very famous actor, and that's why we're talking about it. Now, the upsetting thing to me is that this, at least for this instance, right? This instance that we're talking about, because the jury did delve into stuff that happened in the past. And now this is why I want to talk about this. If you're ever going to go to court about anything, divorce, child custody, domestic disputes, about your rent, small claims, if the other person has a lawyer, and if you have a lawyer, you're going to try, even if you don't really, because you're just against each other, but usually if you have lawyers, you're going to try to dig up and blame as much and make the other person look as bad as possible, because the jury ultimately are people. And if you convince other people, hey, this person is bad, then whatever you say to defend yourself, already is people are coming from a place of, well, you're bad, so it doesn't matter. Now, unless you have been squeaky clean your whole life, which I highly doubt any of you have, but again, you have to be extra, extra, extra good if you look like me, right? Now, I'm not excusing anyone of their behaviors. Like I said, this to me has tainted Johnathan Majors in my eyes, and I'm no longer, even if he does try to have a comeback and be in something, I might not be able to watch that stuff knowing a certain aspect of what happened that came out during the trial, right? Now, that to me is more damning than anything that happened during this March altercation. But We'll talk about it. So let me be clear. In the sequence of events, this is what happened, right? So Johnathan Majors out with his girl. He gets a message from another girl, probably Megan Good at this point. We don't know. He gets a message from another girl. Jabari, she sees the message or something come up on his phone. She gets upset. She is at this point already probably very drunk and or in her emotional state. She has a mental condition. She states she has a mental condition. They say that she has a mental condition, that she takes medication for her mental conditions. So she has already not a very good mental capacity. And on top of that, she does have a problem with alcoholism, as she also states. This is from her defense, from the courts. She has an alcohol problem. So they start an altercation. He tries to put her back in the cab to like close the door and kind of get out of the way. And that obviously doesn't work. She follows him, attacks him, and tries to continue to chase him or whatever. So the whole scuffle there is about the phone. He takes his phone back. She's trying to get his phone back to see who it is. Yada, yada, yada. She chases him down the street. In that scuffle is where the jury believes, which I kind of am inclined to agree with them a little bit, but they believe that that's where he did the unintentional harm, right? The unintentional assault was him trying to put her back in the seat or trying to get away from her. And in that, he probably lacerated her ear and she like has like a broken finger or something like that. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, later that night she was partying, she was in a club and she, with a bunch of strange people, blah, 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 which you're probably going to meet in this video. And, she didn't seem like she was injured. Now, when you're drunk and or in a highly emotional state, you don't really feel your injuries, especially when they're minor. Like those were very minor injuries. And so I believe she might have sustained them in the cab. She could have technically sustained them in the cab at the hands of Johnathan Majors, technically. That could have been possible. Do I believe that this whole thing needed to go to court for this? No. But for these minor injuries, let's say that happened, right? And then she went on with her night, right? She got even more drunk, even more emotional, and eventually she was passed out drunk in this building. This is their building, or the building that they shared, whatever apartment that they shared for while they were here. And she was very upset. She's talking to these people about how upset she is, and so they're like, "Hey, let's get the hell out of here." You're gonna see again. I think Johnathan Majors passes by again, and is like trying to get away from her, but trying to get in the building. To the point where he's like, you know what, fuck this, I'm going to a hotel, right? So the rest of the night, this is the last time that they see each other, and he's like, yeah, no, bye-bye. So he, goes to a hotel, does not come back until the morning time, right? And, he basically just walks away from her. Right. So I think this is when the cops come. So again, then in the morning time, he sees the door is locked. He doesn't have the key or something like that. He gets the doorman to come in, open the door for him. He sees Jabari passed out in like a walk-in closet or some sort. And then he tells, he calls the cops. This is where I'm like, again, to my fellow people that look like me. Don't do this. Don't do this. You walked in with the doorman, or the doorman opened the door for you, so that means you were not there all night. All the cameras see you come in at a certain time. You see someone passed out on the floor, right? That it might be somebody you care about, allegedly or not, whatever. You might care about them. Get the doorman to do that, right? You're like, hey, we had an altercation last night. I don't want any implications to this on me, so you call the police. I'm going to go back to my hotel room, or I'm going to go to another hotel room, or whatever it is. I'm going to get out of here. And obviously hindsight is 20/20, but this is the situation where you have to look at the optics, right? I am 6'7", very, very large, dark-skinned man. If I am walking into my apartment and I see even my wife unconscious on the floor, right? She's lighter skinned than I am. I am immediately going to call someone to call the cops. I am not calling the cops, right? So the reason being is that I automatically know that their first thought is the aggressor is the person that lives with you. It's usually the person that lives with you. We don't want to do a lot of paperwork. We don't want to do a lot of thinking. The aggressor is the person that lives with you, right? And then they'll justify it afterward. So ultimately, these cops come in. They see big, strong Johnathan Majors, white woman on the floor. Automatically, they put 2 and 2 together and think he, aggressed her. Because to them, it just happened, right? Whereas this happened hours ago, the alleged assault, and he's been gone this whole time, and who knows what has been going on, right? So, again, let this be a lesson to all the people watching that look like me, that live in America, especially in New York, where I'm from. Don't do it yourself. Have someone else call the cops for you, right? I don't care what dire situation you are in, the dire need that you're in, unless you're actually under attack. If somebody is, whatever, have someone else do it and you not be there. Very important. All right, so this is her unconscious on this walk-in closet area. The cops are like, "What's going on?" She gets up eventually. She explains that she's not feeling well. She had, whatever. You see the bruise now on her hand, on her finger, a little bit more. She's, her whole night is probably just hitting her. She's definitely hungover. Again, the emotional state she's in, all the injuries that she has sustained, it's just hitting her all at once, right? And then she has two officers telling her, "Hey, did this man do something to you?" And all the last thing she remembers, probably from, being blackout drunk or whatever, is, "Yeah, actually, we did have a fight. I remember us fighting, about something. And it was serious, And then, I don't want to go over the body cam audio, because there's body cam audio of them kind of coercing her into saying certain statements. And that's why, again, later on, let's go back to the timeline over here. Okay. To the timeline over here, right? So, the court, right, filing allegations against Jabari. Majors went to the police to make his own allegations against Jabari, right? And then Jabari was arrested, right? So the police saw the footage that they created with their body cam footage, and were like, "Yeah, actually, you're right. She technically assaulted you during that altercation." And also, he assaulted her, but she assaulted him. It's a bunch of back and forth, whatever. Again, to me, assault, it wasn't really assault. It didn't look like they were fighting, at least intentionally. It looked like they were trying to pull and push away from each other, or one person was trying to pull and push away from someone, and the other person was trying to not be pulled and pushed away from. But anyway, either way, she was arrested on charges of assault and criminal mischief and released with a desk appearance ticket, and that's the end of that. All right? Hours before Jabari's arrest, a judge denies the motion to dismiss the assault case against Majors, because Majors, obviously, Johnathan Majors' team tried to get it dismissed, because it's like, "Hey, look, now she's getting arrested for the same day, the same thing that happened. How can we both assault each other, right? So just dismiss it." Nope, not being dismissed. So his trial was set for November 29th. Jabari's case was closed, right? The Manhattan District Attorney's Office says that it will not prosecute, saying the allegations against Jabari lack prosecutorial merit. The matter is now closed and sealed. So I think, right, that if you're going to prosecute someone for the same altercation that you're going to prosecute another person for, you should prosecute them both, right? But the DA decided no. Majors' trial had a lot more evidence, a lot more things going against him. That, again, is not of that night. Is of a year ago, but whatever. And then her case, we don't have anything besides just a video of them fighting. So we're dropping her case. And that's basically what happens, right? So again, to me, not really blind justice, right? Very much selective justice, in my opinion. But you can have a different opinion. That's fine. I don't care. So, during the trial of Johnathan Majors, right, began on November 29th, on December 5th, Jabari gave a powerful testimony, right? That she feared Majors, that she worried about him harming himself. And then she released these messages, right, key evidence, of him saying that he was going to harm himself a bunch of times. So now, in my mind, right, the only thing that has changed about that night, nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is my opinion of Johnathan Majors. Because now I'm like, you also have mental issues. You did not disclose you had mental issues. And I understand why. It makes you look like a worse victim, I guess, because you're trying to look like the victim. That's what everybody's trying to do, look like the victim, to basically say, "I'm the victim, you're the guilty party." No, you're the guilty party, I'm the victim in this case. But yeah, he didn't disclose the fact that he had mental health issues. And that is a mental health issue. Wanting to kill yourself is a mental health issue, correct? So, let's go to these messages. All right, sorry. So let's go back to the messages that he released initially. This is after the arrest, right? So after the altercation, after everything, the next morning, he goes to the apartment, sees her knocked out, the cops come in, he gets arrested for her being passed out. So she texts him, please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. Again, the fight wasn't right then and there, but whatever. I'm so angry that they did. I'm sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Call me when you're out, right? Because right from the apartment, they took her to the hospital and they took him to the jail, right? She says, I love you. And then she says, they just called again to check on me, and I reiterated how this was not an attack and they do not have my blessing of any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me about strangulation, and I said point blank, this did not occur and should be removed immediately. Right, because at some point they did say that he strangled her or something like that. The judge is definitely going to be told this. She ensured this to me. I know you have the best team and there's nothing to worry about. I just want you to know that I'm doing all I can on my end. That's where the abuse and all this other stuff kind of starts to come into play. And that's where I do kind of see it, right? I also said to tell the judge to know that the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out and your worry as my partner due to our communication prior. Out of care, she promised all will be relayed, right? So the last communication this man has with his ex-girlfriend is, I am pissed that you're talking to somebody else, probably. I don't know what other messages they have. This is me just speculating. But basically, probably it's her being blackout drunk, calling or texting or leaving voicemails on this man's phone saying how she's going to kill herself or she's very in an emotional state right now. She's not good right now. She doesn't know if she's going to survive the night because he doesn't love her. He loves somebody else and blah, blah, blah. Probably all that stuff, right? So he walks in and sees her on the floor. He's like, oh, damn, she did kill herself. Automatically, probably the thought. But again, gentlemen that are watching this, you do not call the cops yourself. You tell doorman, hey, doorman who let me in here, call cops. My girlfriend's passed out upstairs. Call the cops right now. Oh my God. You know, whatever, however distraught you are feeling, throw it all onto the doorman so he knows that you actually care. But get the fuck out of there. All right? That's my advice, ultimately. Anyway, so this is the messages, right? So in my opinion, initially when I saw these messages, I thought, okay, she is a person that has a bad mental state. She probably has mental episodes. She probably has to reassure her partner, hey, I'm in an okay state right now to relay this information, and I'm in an okay state right now to be dealing with the situation, and I'm in an okay state right now to do this and to do that. That's the way that I read it, right? Because I dealt with a lot of people that have mental health issues, and this is more or less how they communicate, which is a lot of them taking the blame and just being like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, even when no one's asking them to take the blame. They just do it automatically themselves because they feel like they're at fault, right? So that's the way that I read it initially. Then I saw the text messages that came out during the trial, right? So this is from a year ago. This is from a different altercation or alleged altercation because there was no report. Nothing really came about it. They didn't go to the doc. She didn't go to the hospital or nothing. So, and nobody called the cops. So, you know, this happened. Now, she says, I will not go to the doctor if you don't feel safe with me doing so or don't trust me to. I promise I would never mention you, but I understand your fear, right? These are very doctored, by the way, but just the instances of what she's saying and what he's saying, very, very bad. He goes, I can't reject love if there is no real love. It's just lip service. I gave you love last night and this morning before I got out of bed. When you got up, you were not full of love at all. I didn't feel it at all. You could have just given me a hug or walked close to me or asked me if you could give me a hug, not the other way around. It works both ways. I will probably mill myself, It's not really contemplating anymore. So again, person that says that to me has mental health issues, right? If you're saying, hey, you're going to end your life over somebody else not loving you or not loving you in the way that you want to be loved, you have mental health issues, right? And whether somebody wants to say that's manipulation and he's a narcissist and yada yada, that's a different issue. I'm just saying that that's a mental health issue that he's saying that he wants to end his life. Automatically, you say that to any doctor, any specialist, anybody. They'll be like, hey, you need to talk to somebody, you probably need to be under medication, which he probably isn't, and he didn't disclose during the trial, right? That's what I'm taking from this. He says, you can't reject love if there is no real... All right, I already read that part. Okay. I'm a monster, a horrible man, not capable of love. I am ending myself soon. I've already put things in motion. Again, imagine if he was receiving these messages from her that day and then found her, on the floor. That's basically why he was like, oh, let me call the cops, right? Anyway, Johnathan, you can't say this. I'm going to have to call someone. Which makes sense. I'm sorry for not hugging you this morning, which is insane. I really am. I was sleepy and disoriented by the fact you thought I would break your necklace. I love you so much, obviously. What do you mean you've put this in motion? That's very concerning, right? If your boyfriend, girlfriend texts you, hey, I've put the pieces in motion of me ending myself. You're like, what the hell? What are you talking about? Do I got to call the cops? So then he says, it's just fake. And I fear you have no perspective of what could happen if you go to the hospital. They will ask you questions. And as I don't think you actually protect us, it could lead to an investigation, even if you do lie and they suspect something. Then she says something there is blurred. I will tell the doctor I bumped my head if I go. I'm going to give it one more day, but I can't sleep and I need some stronger painkillers. That's all. Why would I want to tell them what really happened when it's clear I want to be with you? That is pretty damning, right? So he's telling her there that even if she lies, whatever. So basically here, it's like he's understanding that he's not going to be seen in a good light for whatever it is that happened, right? But this is the altercation or the thing that happened, again, a year ago that I feel really paints him in the light that makes me not want to watch any of his movies, right? Not want to pursue his career or watch it or anything like that. Because this instance right here of him saying, first him admitting that, well, not admitting, him saying it's being revealed through these messages that were leaked that he has a mental health issue. Him not disclosing that going into the trial, big no for me. Again, especially when she disclosed, hey, I have alcohol problem and I have a mental condition problem. That, again, do not help her case. It makes her look less like someone that should be taken seriously in a trial where you're supposed to be trying to be taken seriously. And he didn't do the same. He didn't say, oh, I am whatever. So that's why a lot of people believe that all the stuff that he's doing and he's saying here about killing himself, whatever, is a lie and it's just a manipulation, which, granted, I'm not in the relationship, I don't know, but it does look that way just from these messages. But the big issue for me is the second reason that he's trying to use what I'm trying to tell you right now, which is, again, not a lot of people believe people that look like me and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is you as the individual, you as the person that looks like me, not go directly to the cops. I'm not telling you tell your partner not to go to the cops. I'm not telling you tell your significant other not to report you, right? If you're a problem, go deal with your problem. Go turn yourself in if you are the problem. In this instance, again, the instance that I'm talking about is the night of their altercation, he wasn't technically the problem. He wasn't there. He took his phone. He ran away from her. However, they scuffled, but she ultimately was fine. He was ultimately fine, and they separated. When he came back the next morning, she was on the floor. Have someone else call the cops in that instance, right? But in this instance, he's saying that he fears she doesn't have the perspective of what would happen to him if she went to the hospital, right? So he's telling her to protect him. No, you protect yourself. You protect yourself. Anyway, I'm going to finish. I feel like you want to be together as in to not embarrass yourself for everything you've said to your friends and family. Last night I considered ending myself versus coming home. You said you needed love last night, and I put my feelings aside and tried to give you that. I need love too. Or maybe I'm just a monster and horrible man and that I don't deserve it and should just end myself. This way, of existence is miserable. Basically, those are the messages. Again, as cropped as they are, the basic stuff that's coming through is him saying, hey, I have mental health issues, and hey, you protect me, right? When I don't even protect me, you protect me, right? So that's very bad. That's very bad. Whether or not you believe that he injured her in this instance, and trying to get her to hide it or whatever, which is exactly how it reads to me. Besides that, right? Besides the fact that he might have harmed his partner in an emotional state, an emotional whatever, I still don't see, in my opinion, remnants or evidence that this is a prolonged series of abuse, right? It might have been this instance, and it might have been the instance in the cab that wasn't, to me, really an instance. It was just him trying to get away, and unfortunately, she got harmed during that scuffle. But it wasn't intentional, right? This might have been intentional, might not have been intentional, might have been the same thing. We don't know, right? But whatever it is, she got injured enough that she wanted to go to the hospital to get bigger pain meds than, I guess, a Tylenol or whatever she was taking for the brain head injury that she received somehow, right? But again, instead of him saying, yeah, go and do that, or go with somebody, or have somebody go with you, or whatever it is, he's telling her not to do that because it might affect negatively on him, which means he might have been the cause of it. That's very, very big inference on why he's saying that. Now, my thing is, if he had nothing to do with it, then there shouldn't be any issue with her going to the hospital to get something for her brain, whatever. Like, he would have no correlation, no connection to that whatsoever, right? You would not be worried whatsoever. And again, that's how he felt that day when he called the cops, when he saw her lying on the floor, even after the scuffle that they had very publicly, and when he ran 2 or 3 blocks in the middle of the street away from her, he thought, okay, all that happened yesterday. Today I see her on the floor, so I'm in the clear. Let me call the cops, right? So here he didn't think he was in the clear for some reason, right? But then he did when he actually wasn't. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know. This looks to me more damning, but my point is, this is the issue, and this is the reason why I think I'm kind of done with him. But let's keep going. This is the voice that the recording that Grace Shabari recorded her partner, right, Johnathan Majors, talking or whatever. A lot of people are like, oh, it's suspicious. Why is she recording stuff from like a year ago? Why did she start recording stuff or whatever? Remember, around this time, I think the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp situation was happening. She probably saw herself in that situation, or saw herself maybe needing something like that. So she might have started recording. Or she might have just started recording for some other reason and kept recording, and this is the part of the recording that she showed or whatever. Like, you never know why people are recording partners or whatever. It happens sometimes, whatever. So let's just say there was no malicious intent in her secretly recording him. This recording still, to me, does not really show any damning evidence or damn him in any type of way. Anyway, just again makes him look not so great of a partner, but I'm not trying to be Johnathan Majors' partner, so I don't care.
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Do you really, though, baby? Do you really?
Yes.
Then how dare you come home drunk and disturb the peace of our house when we have a plan? I would like to get to the point where your friends know what job I'm on and go, I think Grace is gonna get a commission. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I won't.
No. You understand that? Because
So this is very much a couple's fight. It's a couple thing. He's basically saying that he wants her to be there more for him, or more, less probably partying, because she's probably partying all the time. She's a young girl. She parties, whatever. So he's probably like, hey, I need you to be here. I need you to be with me. I'm on a job. On the times that I'm free, I need you to be here, and you're not. And your friends are the ones that are coercing you, or basically telling you to go out or whatever and hang out and be out all night or whatever the hell it is, while I'm here working, and then when I'm not working, I'm alone, or whatever the hell he's going through. So it's, understandable on that part. But obviously she's emotional about the situation. He's more of a serious tone about the situation. It's a conversation partners have. This is, again, to me, is not damning in any way, really. And like I said before, people with mental health issues, like she has, they do tend to take a lot of the blame on top of blame. So he's already blaming her for whatever he feels she's not doing in the relationship. And so she's just apologizing and apologizing and apologizing. And it makes her look more of a victim than she might be in the situation, right? Because again, she does admit that she has a problem with alcoholism. She does go out, she does drink, she does probably ignore her partner. But we're seeing it from the end of now we're fighting and she's the one crying, right? White women tears are powerful also.
Right? Grace has to be in a certain mindset. To support Coretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife.
That's also a black woman.
Michelle Obama. Barack Obama's wife.
Also a black woman.
I know, I shouldn't have gone out. I'm
No,
sorry.
let me just lay it out for you. Right? If I'm just gonna say this. My temper, my shit, my trauma, blah, all that said, right? And I'm not saying I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in.
Now, obviously I disagree. He's just an actor. I'm sorry. It's great to have another great male actor out there. That's fine. But he's, he's no Daniel Kaluuya. He's no, John David Washington, Henry Tyree, you know what I'm talking about, from Atlanta. There's a lot of young, up and coming, John Boyega. There's a lot of young and up and coming black actors, and they're doing really good. And yes, he was one of the greats. He's up there. He's one of the GOATs. But to say your culture and all that, I'm like, yeah, there's enough of us. We're good. You could stand back. There's enough for the culture out here.
That's real. I'm not being a dick about it. I didn't ask for it.
You are.
I worked, and that's the situation. The woman that supports me, that I support, that needs to be a great woman and make sacrifices the way that man is making for her and for them ultimately.
So he wants her to make sacrifices, as in to not go out and all the time or whatever it is, whatever. Again, couples things. So none of this matters. Don't know why this was played in the trial. This is, again, a conversation from like a year ago. And it doesn't really, to me, lend to it being like, yes, it obviously, like I said, it paints him in a worse light to the public, which in this instance, and even in the other instance, even in the text messages that they went back and forth, which I feel are more damning, they paint Johnathan Majors in a worse light. So now, as I said before, if you're going to go to court, if you're going to fight, right, if you're going to clear your name, you have to make sure your past is squeaky clean. He admitted in this, video or recording or whatever, that he has a temper. That doesn't help, especially in a trial like this, right? And when you have a temper, it could be that you just yell a lot. But he didn't say that. He just said everything with my, thing aside, and even if I have a temper, I'm a great man, right? So it's not looking good, which is the bad for Johnathan Majors above all, because yes, Grace Jabari does have IMDb credits. She's a dancer or whatever, but she's not really in front of the camera, at least not prominently. So she can go on and find another job where she can be a dancer for some other company or some other thing and be okay. But Johnathan Majors is going to be followed by paparazzi somewhere saying, oh, look where he's at now, And the other issue is nobody's going to want to touch not a hot product, a damaged product, right? When you're an actor, you're a product, right? You're the product of all that you are. That's why you have a PR team. That's why you have, lawyers. That's why you have all these things that have to prop you up to basically be like, look, I am the best at this, or I am so good at that, or I am, the poster child of this and that. And so you lose all that when you go to court, and because again, this is very, to me, normal altercation between a couple right now, like them talking in this thing. Even the altercation in the cab, I've seen that happen dozens of times. I live in the Bronx. People fighting, yelling through windows, like just a window from one window down to the street. Hey, here's your shit, get out of here, blah, blah, whatever. All that stuff happens all the time. The real issue is that you're a big actor And people don't see you as a regular human being. So at the end of the day, if you're a dick, or if you're a great man, but you have a temper, you get seen as a bad person. And then that turns people off, like me, to your potential projects. And then that means nobody wants to hire you, nobody wants to put you in movies, nobody wants to put you in things, because they see you a different way now, right? And he risked all of this, because I don't see this as not his fault. I'm sorry. Like, I know the cops, misconstrued what she was saying or led her to say whatever she was saying, whatever. But again, if he knew a year ago not to send her to the hospital for whatever injury, in my opinion, he caused, he should have known now not to call the cops for even a pass out that he didn't cause, right? Anyway, let's finish. So, key evidence is released. All the stuff that I showed you, right? The case goes to the jury, and the jury finally reaches a verdict on Monday saying that he's guilty of 2 of the 4 counts, which again, the 2 counts are not the serious ones. They are the unintentional ones or whatever. So they basically were able to see past all the stuff that Grace Jabari's team, the defense, was trying to lobby and say that, to defend her, to say, she was in an abusive relationship, she's being manipulated by Majors, blah, blah, all this other stuff. And again, the time apart, because they have both restraining orders against each other, and obviously he moved on to making good, has probably opened her eyes to see, oh, maybe I was in some type of abusive relationship. Maybe not physically abusive. Again, hopefully, because again, the stuff from last year is damning. But definitely an emotionally abusive one, right? Where a guy tells me that he's going to end himself over nothing. So, yeah, I just, to me, that doesn't look good for Majors because of all the stuff that came out of the trial. Not really going into the trial. I thought he might have been innocent. Watching the videos, watching the evidence, it didn't look like anything that was really like, hey, he's an aggressor. He, gave her a black eye, punched her in the stomach or whatever. Or he's the one that knocked her out and left her unconscious on the floor of their apartment. None of that stuff. He literally was trying to get his phone, got his phone, trying to get away from her, got away from her, stayed away from her all night. Those are the events for that night specifically that they're seeing or whatever, right? And then when he came back in the morning, she was passed out in the thing. That to me is plain and simple what I still see right now. The issue is all the stuff that came out from the past that affected this stuff. So ultimately, I feel like the jury decided on the 2 counts that were not intentional because him injuring her wasn't intentional, I don't think, because they again assume it happened during the cab. But here in New York, if somebody's trying to take your stuff, if somebody tries to take your purse on the street, if somebody tries to take my phone, which good luck, but try to take my phone on the subway or something like that, I have the right to defend myself. If I harm them while defending myself, I do not get sent to the courts or the jail for assault. That doesn't happen. It's because you're a domestic partnership that they decided that it was within the domestic partnership that the domestic dispute happened. And again, I like just knowing that these cops showed up and thought, this is a domestic dispute, these niggas fought. Thinking that they fought right then and there, not a fucking hours ago, the night before in a cab, and not really fought, just fucking got away from each other. Anyway, I digress. If you are a young man, or an old man, or anyone that looks like me, lives in my city specifically, but pretty much anywhere in America, don't do this to yourself. I don't know how many times I've seen cases like this. This is probably the most famous one that I've seen like this, is why I wanted to talk about it, because it's probably going to get more eyes on this video than a lot of other videos will. Don't do it yourself. I know, it sucks. Everyone else has the privilege to. White ladies have the privilege to call the cops on you in a park for no reason, you walking by. I get it. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do this to yourself. Unless you are the one that's being attacked, right? And you are running for your life, or you're hiding somewhere, or whatever it is, and you have even more if you have evidence to prove it, then go ahead. But other than that, I go back to very famous episode of Blackish, if you guys seen Blackish. There's an elevator scene where a little girl's in an elevator. It opens, and there's a little white girl just crying in an elevator. And Anthony Anderson's character, he just stays there. Doors close, elevator leaves. He just waits for another elevator or he takes the stairs. I forgot. But that is exactly what you should do in any situation. In any situation. Even if the person in the elevator looks like you, trust me. Just, it's better off, what's going on here? This doesn't concern me. You call the cops. Yeah, yo, there's something going on over here. Somebody call the cops. I'm out of here. Trust me. Anyway, that has been all. This is actually hopefully a useful skill.